Welcome everybody, this is Brothermutant here. Today we're departing from our LP so that we can do someone a favor. Someone asked specifically in the comments section if I could make a dual wielding sword saint and if it would be something that I would consider viable. And certainly it is. I mean, it really depends on what you're hoping to do. Are you going to solo? In which case you can stuck it out for quite a bit and eventually you'll be good. And if you literally out-level the content, you'll be just amazing. That's not an issue. If you're running it on a team, of course, any build is reasonably decent, as long as you're doing damage or casting spells or buffing, debuffing, whatever it is that your class does, you will also be good, so I won't worry about that. If you think it's going to be epic, there's more epic builds than this. But you can get away with quite a bit, by the way, as a sword saint, so let's actually look into it. So what I've done is I've actually dipped into the chambers so that I can level the character up artificially. I'm just going to take all this gear off so that you can see what the character is capable of doing on their own. Now we do have one magic weapon, the Kukri +1. I have Masterwork Kukri, and that's going to be a thing. Of course we have the magic dart, but again, this is just crap that you don't really need. This was as I was walking through the Tenebrous depths just to see what this character can do by herself. Easy to do. I was level 20 and I just marshaled through level 1 through 10 plus so far, so not surprising. But I want to show you the character itself. So the character is capable of doing quite a bit. By the end, of course, at level 1, you start off with the following stats. 10 for strength. I had your dex be 18, con 12, intelligence was 17. I put 1 point in here, and that was the first point you put in it, was an intelligence to round it up, and then the next 4 went to dex to bring it up to 22. You'll see why as you level it up. But basically at 18, more skill points was the reason here, as well as another spell at level 1 and 4. So there's a reason for going beyond intelligence of 16. Now I actually have this build on another character that I play in my spare time for fun, and I have these two stats reversed. Instead of having 18 intelligence and 22 dex, I have 18 dex, 22 intelligence. That's good for me for a variety of reasons. One, I like the extra skill points. B, I don't mind that I have a penalty to my dex compared to you. The one thing I don't get that you do have is I won't have the greater 2-weapon fighting. You have 2-weapon fighting, improved 2-weapon fighting, and then greater 2-weapon fighting. Greater 2-weapon fighting is hidden behind a wall of having the other two, obviously, but also having a dex of 19 or higher. Now I can fudge it on mine a couple different ways. I believe it's still viable that if I wear a belt of dexterity, for instance, like this one here, bumping my 18 dex to 20, when I pick feats, it considers me having a dex of 20, so I could pick that feat, which is cheesing it really, really bad, because A, it's not legitimate, B, you never know when they're going to say, oh, that was a bug, and they've patched that shit out, so I don't want to make a build that they could fuck you on that, pardon my French. But basically, that's one way. The other way, though, and this is actually viable, in-game, and I hate to give you the spoiler, so I won't tell you much more than this, there is a character that if you kiss their ass enough, eventually they give you a potion that increases your stats. Every stat you have, +2, permanently across the board. Now how badass is that? So my 18 dex max can now be 20 max, without any gear, without belt, without spells, without anything. It's a permanent increase. If I can get that potion in game before it comes the time to pick that feat, which is, later down the road, obviously, then I have the ability then to pick that feat, that greater 2-weapon fighting, giving me my 3rd attack. So by the way, 2-weapon fighting gives you an attack here. You can dual wield without penalty, without as much of a penalty. We'll get to that in a minute. And then if you get improved 2-weapon fighting, then you can get another attack on the offhand. So you go from 1 attack here to 2 attacks. Then of course you get greater 2-weapon fighting, then you get that 3rd final attack for you here. Now if you were a fighter, of course you'd have 4 attacks on this side by 20, and then 3 then on this side. So again, you'd have 7 attacks as a fighter. We're not a fighter. We are a sword saint. And while people are like, well, yeah, but you're a wizard who fights. No, that's the other magi, in my opinion. You are a fighter who wizards, is the way I look at sword saints. Why? Because of some of the feats they get are specifically tailored for them being better fighters than the rest of the other magi. Yes, they can't wear armor without investing in it. By the way, we'll get to that too. But there's all kinds of other things that they get that the other magi don't. One of which is an ability, we'll see when I show you the level process, that you will see that is inherent to a sword saint, so you just get it. I forget which level is like 9 or 11. So it takes a while to come online. But what it basically does is part of the feat, if you read the entire tooltip, it treats your BAB, your base attack bonus, which for you at level 20 is going to be 15, like all Magi. It treats your BAB, though, as if you have a BAB of your Sword Saint level, only for purposes of picking a feat. So there's some feats that are hidden behind a wall of a couple of restraints, one of which is what is your base attack bonus, your BAB. The other that's going to be important to you is hidden behind the wall of, do you have fighter levels? And while all Magi have this ability, including Sword Saints have it slightly different. All the other Magi, including the Eldritch Archer, has an ability once they get to level 10 that they treat their Sword Saint levels, half of their Sword Saint levels, as fighter levels, as far as requirements for, how many fighter levels do you have. And that's important because by the time they get this feat unlocked, at level 10, that means they're level 5 fighter as far as the game is concerned. And there are some feats that are hidden behind, are you fighter level 4? Are you fighter level 8, 7, 13, whatever the hell the numbers are. The point is, that's extremely helpful because those feats are pretty badass. A fine example of some of the better ones are going to be in when you pick Critical Focus, which is a waste on this build, but Critical Focus gives you the access to other feats, and again, if you have enough fighter level or base attack bonus, whichever it is, I can't remember, then you can unlock things like blinding criticals, which means every time you crit, and remember, you're dual wielding, so anytime you crit, period, you have the potential to blind that opponent. That's awesome. There's other ones that fatigue the opponent. If you go even past that, you can exhaust the opponent every time you crit. There's another one for staggering them, which again, I'm not sure which, and sickening, and I don't know which is the best. Obviously, the one that has the highest requirement would be the one that I would think it was probably the Uber one, and that's either the blinding one or the exhaust one. The exhaust one I would shy away from, if for no other reason that to get it, you need Critical Focus, tiring criticals, and then exhausting criticals. So that's 3 feats you burn just to get the effect of one thing, because you can't tire them and exhaust them at the same time. You only get one or the other. Exhaust is the one that basically kicks in because it's the better of the two. So that's awesome. Is it as awesome as blinding the opponent? I can't tell you that. Is it as awesome as sickening the opponent or staggering the opponent? Again, I can't tell you that. How do you build it? It's going to be on you. But what I can say is that any of those crit chances to penalize the bad guy are amazing. So therefore, think about those. Find out when they level, when they show up, when the earliest is you can take them. Try to plan your build in advance so that if you can take it at 15 when it's finally available, you take it at 15. If you need it to be 17 to get it, then take it at 17. Same with greater 2-weapon fighting, 2-weapon fighting, improved 2-weapon fighting. Those are kind of fudgy. Improved and greater, once you get 2-weapon fighting, probably as soon as you can get the other 2, you want them. It's doing nothing more than giving you another attack. There's no penalty to it, it's just you have another attack. Why wouldn't you want to be able to swing more often in a combat round? Now, having said that, the 2-weapon fighting one, I would not pick right away. And the reason I say that is because as soon as you do that, you're going to want to equip 2 weapons, 2 Kukri in this case. That's fine. Remember, you take a penalty to your swing when you dual wield. If you don't have 2-weapon fighting, the penalty is -6 for your main hand and -10 for your offhand. Those are huge penalties. If you get 2-weapon fighting, which of course anyone should if they're going to do that, then you literally lower those -6, -10 to a -4, -4. However, there's a small little caveat in there as well. If they are light weapons, and this is why we went Kukri, it's a -2, -2. That's much better than -4, -4. So that's why we went Kukri. We could have gone Scimitar, which by the way is not finessable anymore. I don't know when the hell that happened. But you can't finesse those things anymore. You can't use rapiers while you can finesse them. Being a dex-based build, that would be good for you. However, you can't dual wield them and deal with another problem because of the fact they're not considered quote-unquote light weapons. So they're -4 instead of -2. So this is the -2 that I suggest. That doesn't mean you couldn't go daggers. That doesn't mean you couldn't go short sword. But remember, these have the highest crit range that we're looking for, the 18 to 20. And of course, if you get keen versions of them, or the improved critical feat, or if you use your magical ability to make them the one in your main hand anyway, at least a keen weapon, then the crit range doubles. It goes from 18 to 20 as a natural crit to 15 to 20 as a natural crit. So that's pretty badass. So that's the reason that we went with Kukri still. The damage is lackluster with a 1d4, but compared to the 1d6 of a rapier, you really aren't missing out but like on a point per swing. It's really not as bad as you think. So the 1d4, 1d6 is kind of lame in comparison to what you're getting from all this other stuff. Now, what are you getting from all this other stuff? Notice how we get a plus 12 here. Why are we getting that? Some of the feats that you're going to get are going to be things that increase your damage output. First, we're going to have a weapon focus Kukri. You get that naturally from being a sword saint. You pick the weapon you're going to specialize in, and they give you weapon focus for it, free of charge. And they give you a free weapon, of course, if you take it at level 1. So you have a Kukri, you have a nunchaku, you have a, whatever. Even if it's a rare thing, they give you one at level 1 because you specifically went out of your way to say, no, I want to focus on this. Well, then we're giving you one. Here you go. It's a piece of shit. It's not a magic work. It's not magic in any way, but you have it. Poof. Weapon finesse, of course, is another obvious pick, being a dex-based build, so that you have a better chance to hit. So this is really giving you a really good chance to start smacking on the bad guys right at the beginning of the game. I picked Slashing Grace. I didn't pick this. I picked this at level 1 as a human. You get an extra feat. So this is the other feat that I picked. I wouldn't pick it at level 1. I'd pick it later. And actually, after everything's said and done, I come to realize I don't necessarily need it. It's okay if you want to go from dual wielding to single wielding. Sometimes that's necessary. If you're missing too often, then that -2 penalty on all your swings could be what's screwing you completely. Switch to just one Kukri. Make sure you have 3 Kukri basically. 2 dual wielding and another one in another slot on your main hand, and only in your main hand, and the other hand empty. Then you can switch like that, and then suddenly you're doing a more chance to hit because that -2 penalty is now gone from the 3 swings that you get for that one. So instead of 18, 13, 8, you're going to get a 20, 15, 10. It's pretty good. Having said all that, there's other stuff though. Slashing Grace gives you extra damage. It basically converts your dex bonus into damage for your slashing weapon that you pick, in this case Kukri. That's why I did it. I forgot that dual wielding, you take away that bonus to damage. So that's not there. And it says here, there's one of those things where it says, when wielding your chosen weapon one-handed. That's your cue right there. Literally, two-handed, you don't get it. It says it better, I want to say, the other one, the Piercing Grace, or whatever the hell it's called, the other version of this. So if you're using like a rapier or whatever. But it spells it out there where it literally says, oh, you're wielding 2 hands, you will lose this penalty, this bonus. So it's the same here. So that's the thing. This isn't necessary, but again, if you do like to start out where you're doing damage, and you're not going to have uber Kukris right off the bat, so you're going to be soloing, one-handing it quite a bit, then this really makes the build really nice because you will do extra damage. Remember, this is plus 12 right now, not counting the plus 6. So I could be doing plus 18 per swing, and I get it 3 times. Is that better than plus 12 6 times? No, but you get the point. Early on, this is going to be something to help you crush stuff a lot sooner. Dodge would be probably what I would take before that. I took it at level 3, but again, I would took it out of order for a reason. But I would take dodge probably sooner, and again, decide whether or not I want that. 2-weapon fighting I take later. Why do I take it so much later? Wouldn't you want to be able to swing twice sooner? Sure, you would, but the penalty, that -2 to each swing, remember, you're only going to get 1 attack here early on and 1 attack here then early on. And while, yes, that's 2 swings, you're swinging at like a +3 plus, a +1 instead of a +3, and you're swinging at a +1 and a +1. Early on, that may not be enough for you to penetrate those guys, and I would stay then again specifically to the 1 weapon at the time. When you finally get to the point where you actually have maybe 2 attacks over here, or get pretty damn close to being able to unlock the 2nd attack on this one, that's when I start to get 2-weapon fighting. It's no big hurry for it. By then, you have some spells, you have some gear, you can invest in another Masterwork Kukri so that you have a bonus to it as well. Then you can take 2-weapon fighting. The penalty is there for both of them, but you can kind of offset that a little bit. Blind fighting. This one is a weird pick. I pick it for a reason though. A lot of your defense, your armor, is based off of your dex and your intelligence. Remember, we get this feat as a sword saint. Let me see if I can find it for you. Called Candy Defense. This is the equivalent of basically dex or dodge, however you want to think of it. I lump them in the same category because they stack. The downside of this is literally just like dex and dodge. If you're flat-footed, you lose this bonus to your armor class. So you never want to be flat-footed if at all possible. One of the ways to be caught flat-footed is being attacked by someone who's invisible. So blind fight prevents shit like that from happening, or at least helps. Right? I go even further and take improved blind fight. In my build, I even went even further than that and went for a greater blind fight, which is probably overkill. But again, I haven't done the math on it to decide which of those is really necessary. But definitely I would take at least the first one. Because again, this will go a long way to helping you out. And of course, there's spells that will benefit you, that prevents you this from happening. Glitter Dust being one. You can have another one that gives you like See Invisible, True Sight, or whatever the hell it's called, which we actually pick in this build. But those come later on. Anyway, so having this be a default setting is kind of nice. I went for Weapon Specialization Kukri. This is one of these that's hidden behind a wall of either fighter or hidden behind the wall of base attack bonus. I can't remember which. But the point is you can have access to this. And you can get, unlike the other Magi, you can get access to the greater version of it too. So this is a +2 to damage with any Kukri attack. And then here's another +2 on top of that. So you can do +4 to your damage, which is part of this 12 and the 13 that you're seeing here. That's per Kukri attack. We got 6 attacks. We just added 4 times 6 technically potential damage to your attack chain in a combat round. That's 24 damage. It's just built into it. Poof. As long as you got Kukris, which why wouldn't you? You're a sword saint. This is your specialty. You're wielding your Kukris. Here's your Kukris. You're doing extra damage. It's pretty badass. And again, the fact that you can get this and no other Magi can, pure Magi, excuse me, is kind of nice. So that's why I did that. I did this. This was kind of a question for me, and I want to explain this here in a second. So one of the things about your defense that you get, the candy defense that you get, your intelligence buff from being a sword saint, it specifically says in the tooltip, as long as you're unencumbered and you're wearing no or light armor, you can get your intelligence modifier in armor class, this +4 here. But you don't have light armor proficiency, so I just thought it was a typo. And I'm like, well, maybe they really do intend it to be where you pick armor proficiency, light armor, because you can, and use it. And you can. And the reason I tested it wasn't just that. I tested it for this. You know when you wear armor, let's see if I can show it to you here. You know when you wear armor, the armor that you're wearing specifically has a maximum dexterity is this. Leather armor being like 6, padded armor being +8. I want to say studded leather armor is like +5. So if you wear studded leather armor, you don't get this full +6 to your armor. You lose a point. But you get 3 back because you're wearing studded leather, right? So that's a thing. And I thought, well, gee, I wonder if that would also impact your intelligence modifier, because that would suck if that you did that, wear light armor, you know, maybe you lose a point of dex, who cares? But if I lose all 4 of these too, then I'm not going to do it. That would just be stupid. It has no impact on it. You still get this +4. So that's nice. It is a good way to supplement things. Now, the reverse of this, though, is you have such high dex, most armors is going to be a problem for you. Whereas leather's okay, padded leather's okay. If you had a chain shirt, you would take a penalty. I mean, I think like +4 is all you can wear on a chain shirt. If it's a mithril chain shirt, I think you can get it to be like a +5. So that's pretty decent. Now, having said pretty decent, let me say this. On my build, where I have an 18 dex and 22 intelligence, I only have a +4 here. I can wear a chain shirt and you can't, and I get the full dex bonus. So my armor would actually be better than yours in my alternate build, where I swap these 2 stats around. So that's a thing. Now, having said all that, let's go back to what we went on with others. If you didn't get this, if you don't think armor's a thing, and that's fine. You know, bracers of armor class +8, that's what I'm using on this character, well, +6 right now, but bracers of armor class +8 is a viable option, and that would not stack with armor that you're wearing. So fuck that shit, just get the bracers of armor class. The reason I did this was to test it, and the other reason was to see, sometimes there's armor out there that if you wear the armor, not only does it give you the studded leather +1, but it also gives you the ability to cast a spell. Well, you don't want to be swapping armor on and off and on and off every time you want to cast a goddamn spell that you got for free just because you have this piece of armor. Maybe you do, I don't. So I thought, well, let's just get this, have it, be able to wear the armor, just make sure that I don't have anything other than light armor. There's still arcane spell failure issues here, by the way. Now, you have a weapon focus Kukri that you get for free for being a sword saint. Notice I even went so far as to get greater weapon focus. Again, this is another one that I think you can get that no other Magi can, the greater weapon focus. Again, it's hidden behind a wall of either high fighter levels or high BAB, I can't remember which. But the point is, you can get it. why wouldn't you want another +1 to your swing for both the weapons you're wielding? That sounds like a mulligan to me. Totally take that shit right now. Improved 2-weapon fighting. This is the one that gives you your second attack over here. And then, of course, greater 2-weapon fighting, which we got a little late because of this damn leather proficiency. So a lot of this stuff would shift up, by the way. Greater 2-weapon fighting. I think you can get this as soon as level 13 or 15. And that gives you the third attack over here. Now, the weird thing about this is, it says, and I didn't test it because I was busy leveling the character all the way to 20. It says you can get a third attack over here. But the weird thing is by the time I can pick this up, I'm only getting 2 attacks over on this side. So do I really get 3 over here? I kind of doubt it. I think that it probably shows up when you finally get the ability to have a third attack here. You probably get it over here as well. Otherwise, you're swinging at a penalty. You're not getting a +1 to anything. You're getting like a -0 or -1 or +0 for this attack. So it's unlikely. If they give it to you before they give you the third one over here, though, great. You're up to 5 attacks now instead of 4, so sweet. But yeah, definitely, as soon as you can pick it up, you definitely probably want to get that greater 2-weapon fighting. And again, only I can get that if I bump my dex. The greater weapon specialization, we already talked about it. Piranha Strike we got a little later, but again, all these things we shifted up 1, so this is not that big of a deal. And this one, while it's nice, and it works on both of your weapons, which is one of the reasons that we're doing 12 and 13 damage, we're actually getting 8 damage extra because of all that. That's why it's as high as this is. The 12 is 8 from Piranha Strike and 4 from greater weapon specialization and weapon specialization for the Kukris. The other +1 that you're seeing here is because this is a magic Kukri. +1, so the +1 to damage, right? So that's why it's 13, not 12. But yeah, that's pretty nice. Now this, again, could all have been +6 higher on each of them, or on either of them, if we weren't dual wielding because of VAR, Slash, and Grace. But again, once you switch to 2 weapons, you don't get that. So again, if you don't think that's going to be a thing, you got a feedback right there. So that's nice. Notice that we got penetrating strikes and greater penetrating strikes. And again, another thing that we can do that no other Magi can, as far as I remember. It's hidden behind a wall, behind shit that they would never get this. We can, though, which is pretty damn awesome. This is literally the one that literally ignores 5, or in the greater penetrating strikes case, 10 points of damage reduction on the target. And I'm already fighting guys in this underground tenebrous depths bullshit where like I'm fighting mites and whatever on it, and I only had masterwork weapons, didn't really enchant them in any real way. It was just seeing what I could do. And those bastards were absorbing like 14 points of damage if it weren't for this. Because when I look, it says damage reduced, and I'm like, what the hell? I have greater penetrating strikes, and I look at the tooltips, and it says they decrease the damage by 4. Why was it only 4? It's because I actually had this. And it's because I have this that I was ignoring 14 damage reduction that these son of a bitches had. Imagine how bad you'd pissed off you'd be if you're swinging at these guys and the minimum damage you're doing is like 1, 2, 4, and that's it. I was doing like 14, 14, 12, 14. I'm like, whoa, what the hell? My numbers went from like in the 20s into 14s. Like, what the hell is that shit? And that was because of their reduction. And I was still, because of these two, putting out respectable numbers for those guys that they were still dropping. So that definitely worth it. Having said all of these, now again, there's plenty that you could change. Again, Slashing Grace isn't necessary. I would still insist you get Dodge. An extra armor class bump, especially early on, is really needed. And I would take this probably at level 1 with Weapon Finesse, and of course you get the Weapon Focus Kukri for free. As a human, that's 3 feats. 1 that you get for free, then the 2 you get for being a human. Instead of 1 for every other race, with the exception, I think, of like 1 other race. So that's okay. Another thing you could lose out on would be the light armor. So that's 2 feats right there that you could recycle. From there, I still insist Piranha Strike is necessary. Maybe it's late in the game for you to get this like this, maybe move it up a bit. But the point is that -1 plus 2 is what you're getting. A -1 to your attack bonus, a +2 to damage. And it scales as you level up. So when you finally get to the point where you're at the end of the game, you're getting a -4 to your swing, but a +8 to your damage. And if it's, you know, too much of a penalty, switch it off. Yeah, you're not getting that +8 damage anymore, but you're still hitting the target, right? So that's kind of the logic behind that. It's basically the version of power attack or whatever it is, but that's the strength version. This is the agile weapon finessable version. I could see getting penetrating strikes and maybe not getting the greater one, maybe. But I mean, really, when you see things that are resisting more than 5, you'll really be happy you get this. So again, if you wanted to, you could chuck that out. That would be 2 to 3 feats then you could recycle into your build. What would you get for those 2 or 3 feats? Well, remember we talked about critical focus and then the blinding critical or tiring critical, or you get the idea. Look into those. Those would be my next go-to. That doesn't mean there's not better choices out there, but those would be the ones that naturally spawn to my brain. And the reason I say that is because you're going to crit all the goddamn time with a decent critical weapon. And you notice also I don't have improved critical here. We'll get to that here in a second, but part of that is because we can turn at least your main weapon into a keen weapon by just clicking a little button. So if you don't find keen Kukris, or find that they're the best ones are the keen Kukris, you can at least turn the one in your main hand keen and increase this crit range. So you're still critting pretty goddamn good. Having said that too, remember as a sword saint, people are going to tell you, well, now you're missing out on your opportunity to crit through your weapon with your magic spells. Remember, they do shocking grasp, corrosive touch, vampiric touch, and all that other shit that you literally charge through your weapon and then you attack with it, and if it crits, you do double damage on that, and that's definitely cool. But remember, as a sword saint, you ain't getting shit for spells, son. And you only got a spell intelligence of 18. Most would tell you to stop at 16. So you're not, you're actually just a tiny bit higher than most people. So that's actually another spell at level 1, I want to say. No, actually, take that back. It's 4. I think it's a level 4 spell. But the point's still the same, is that's a big boost to your output for damage because you got extra spells. A lot of people be like, well, definitely use these, you know, shocking grasp, and use your frigid touch, etc. and so forth. Yeah, but you really are a fighter that wizards, right? So you want buffs, in my opinion. And that's why I say this. So you literally have the ability to put on a shield spell, reduce yourself in size, so you get a massive dex bonus, a dex bonus, a armor class bonus that scales for not only your dex going up, but also your size going down. So it's harder for them to hit you. It's easier for you to hit them. The fact that you do higher dex if you're single wielding, remember you got that slashing grace still, then you're doing more damage because your dex is even higher now, so that's cool. Yes, you're going on a smaller size weapon, so 1d4 goes to 1d3. Pfft, who gives a shit? That's like a half a point of damage per attack that you lost by going down in size, where you gained all kinds of other bonuses, dex, chance to hit, better armor class, just from a very cheap level 1 spell. That's why I say you're a buffer. Get the spells that increase your armor, increase your speed, increase your dex. All those are good things. And then go from there, see what else you can get. Notice the spells that I pick are really odd. Remember, you can scribe spells into your book, so it doesn't matter what I pick per se, as far as you're leveling up. But some things always stand out as being useful. Shield spells always amazing. Remember, you don't get to wear a shield, and this is a nice plus 40 armor class for a decent amount of time. Again, reduced person, we just talked about it. Magic missile, auto hit moves are always amazing. Yes, there's going to be people that have shield up and therefore it doesn't work on them. There's going to be people that are magic resistant where it doesn't work on them. But when you do have that guy across the damn field, instead of you running the fuck over there to stab him 7 times in the chest, when a magic missile times 5 will, you know, fire off your fingertips and kill him at 30 feet away or whatever the range is, I'd magic missile the bastard. So I usually keep that in my back pocket. You notice I even put in Expeditious Retreat, a good combo for me, and I'll demonstrate here in a minute, is I buff up, and I buff up with shield, reduce person, Expeditious Retreat. Then I buff up on level 2 with Mirror Image and Blur, and usually that's enough for me to get by most lane content. Yes, I'm way over level them. I'm 20 there for like 5. But I mean, even if you're playing the game normally, those buffs alone are going to be magic for you. Then it gets even better as you get higher up. And while Vampiric Touch at least lasts an hour, which is nice, it scales, and it takes forever to scale into a way that's useful, because you're hitting them and you're doing 15 points of damage. Well, yay, now you get a plus 15 to your hit point for an hour. That goes away with like the first swing or two, but it helps. I'm not going to complain about it. But it really, when you get to level 20, when you can now suddenly do 10 to 60 points of damage with that, and if it crits, it does double, and if with whatever damage you do, whether it crits or not, you get that in hit points. Imagine getting a nice 60 sometimes added to your HP total. That's pretty nice, but I'm not going to slot 5 times, because once it's, you do it, it replaces the other one. So if you do it back to back, you vampire touch somebody, you get 50, let's say. So you got 50 extra armor, or HP. Sweet. And then you do it again on another guy that maybe that first one dropped, and you turn to his friend and do vampiric touch again on him, and only get 30. Your 50 gets replaced by the 30. So again, there's no real reason to have multiples like that until maybe it wears off and then you recast it, sure. But look at the buffs you could have instead. Displacement. I missed 50% of the time. I'd much rather have that than have 10, 20, 50, 60 even hit points. Because being missed guaranteed half of the time is pretty goddamn sweet. Well, it's not guaranteed, there's ways around it. But by and large, we're talking for main fodder that you're dealing with, trolls that hit hard as shit, they're still whiffing 50% of the time. You'd be surprised how many fights you can get through because of just that buff alone. Of course, haste is amazing, can't say enough good things about it. I even picked up some other trash, you know, everyone likes fireball spell, and dispel magic is kind of a staple. Slow is nice, but again, if you have a choice between using haste or slow, you probably want to use haste. It could last longer than that fight, long enough for you to get into another fight, right? So why use slow and slow the herd that you're going to slaughter in like 5 combat rounds versus having haste on you, which could last potentially 10, 20, 40 if you extend it, combat rounds. Kill everybody in the room super quick, get an extra attack yourself, get another attack bonus, get more dodge armor class, all good things. Your reflex save goes up and you're a little faster. Zip around killing everybody, run to the next room, do it some more. That's why I like haste. And again, extended haste is really nice for that. For here, again, doesn't matter what you pick, but these are just the ones I pick as I leveled up. But I can't say enough good things about Dimension Door, especially if you slot it twice, which I haven't. But if you do, you teleport in, you teleport out. There's a lot of stuff that you can gimmick in the game and get yourself some cheap XP that way. It's up to you. If you don't want to do that kind of stuff, I understand. It's kind of fudge and shit. But other stuff in here, Stone Skin is a great buff. You're going to want it. Now remember to keep that Diamond Dust on hand, but the duration of buff is amazing. I would even have it slotted a couple times if it could fit it in your build, but you sadly can't. If I get more intelligence, you can, which means if you wear more gear, that comes in handy. Greater invisibility, though, is an amazing buff for you. It doesn't last very long, but while it's on, you are invisible. Doesn't matter if you're attacking or not, you are still invisible. This allows you to attack those bastards flat-footed and just tear through their armor because they don't have any of that dexterity bonus going for them. And if they have high armor, we have other ways around that too, so we'll see that in a bit. And then I just picked some other stuff just for flavor, but again, it doesn't matter. You're going to have the full book. But this is the stuff that I'm slotting just to test stuff out to see what I think is nice. Level 5. Vampiric Shadow Shield's the only real buff that I saw in there that you would want. And also notice that you have other forms that you could be taking, like your elemental forms 1 through 3, I think you get access to, beast forms and such. Remember, you change into a different shape and you are not wielding Kukris, which means all the dodge bonus that you're getting from your high intelligence and all the other stuff that you're getting for having an intelligence and being a sword saint, you don't have that benefit anymore. It wears off as soon as the spell wears off, but it's not the point. You basically are taking a penalty, in my opinion. Now, there might be reasons that you need to change into, a fireball demon asshat because you need the fire resistance. It's totally valid. Some of these are immune to a variety of attacks. Again, totally valid. So it's going to be in your spell book. I'm just saying that I'm not going to normally slot that shit. Just like the other spells in here that have a high DC check, where you're not going to put out the best DC number for them to resist or to save against, because you literally have low intelligence. Even me, who has a character has a 22 intelligence by level 20, I would still consider me not really good at casting spells where they would have to make a save or suck. And, there's going to be ones where it's still worth it, because they take half damage, stuff like this. So I'm still going to take them. But, ones that literally are, they make the save, nothing happens. They don't make the save and they die, or they take a shit ton of damage. They're nice spells to, when you do kill them, but it's not something really to rely on. But again, there's not a whole lot in level 5 as far as cool. So I went out of the way of just picking utility stuff. If I come against guys that I know are susceptible to cold, here you go. Susceptible to acid, susceptible to fire. The cheese move of cloud kill that you just drift into the room where the boss is back there, just let the cloud just stand on top of the bastard, let them die before you even walk into the room. It'll cue the the cutscene, and then he'll fall over. Pretty awesome. It's kind of cheating, but it's there for a reason, so screw them. And if you're immune to poison, you get like a ring of poison immunity or whatever, or cast a spell on you so you're immune to poison. Stay in the cloud kill with a big ass herd on your ass. They'll start dropping like flies, and you're just stabbing. It's a good technique. But Vampiric Shadow Shield was simply so you could say, well, if they're hitting me, at least they're going to take damage from it. It's like, screw you, one last chance, you know. Level 6, again, good spells again. Transformation, if you don't get this, I have to wonder why you're being a Sword Saint. The ability to literally buff yourself, even for short periods of time, where your Bab jumps to the character level. So if you're a level 20 Sword Saint like I am right now, instead of having a Bab of 15, which means 3 attacks in my main hand, and now because of greater weapon, 2 weapon fighting, 3 in the offhand, so I have 6 attacks around. I use this spell, I jump up to 4 in my main hand, at a plus 20, plus 15, plus 10, and a plus 5. And then my offhand goes to 20, 10, 15, and 10. So that's huge. Then, not that you would actually need it, but if you didn't have strength buffs or dex buffs or con buffs, you're guaranteed to at least have a plus 4 to all 3 of those stats. Obviously, you'd have the belt that makes them all plus 8, but it's not the point. If you don't, or if you don't have catchphrase and bull strength and bears and turns on you, basically this is what this does. Cast all those 3 on you at once. Poof. Then you get natural armor. Now granted, you probably have the necklace of natural armor plus 5. I don't think they're going to stack, but the point's still the same if you don't. If you have a better necklace for some other reason, again, here you go. Increased fortitude saves and nothing else really to talk about besides that. But this is an amazing spell, and extended, this is an amazing spell. Double the duration on this bastard because it doesn't last long. It's like haste. Doesn't last long, but while it's on, you are the Ginsu chef, man. You will be slicing and dicing like no one's business. Really, really nice. Now remember, once you do this, you can't cast spells again until it wears off. So, pre-buff up with what you're going to want beforehand, then slap this bastard on yourself, and then go to town. Of course, True Seeing is amazing. Remember, you don't want to be flat-footed. Dragon kind of just pick it because who doesn't like turning into a dragon? But again, you're going to lose all the benefit of the, being a Sword Saint because you don't have Kukris in your hand. You're fighting with claws and bites and tails and wings and whatever else. So, but, breath weapon's kind of cool. Increase in size, scare the shit out of the bad guys, and it's kind of cool. Other stuff here was just, again, had to pick something, but I love my Sirocco. It's an amazing spell. Hellfire Ray, love it. It's an amazing spell. Umbral Strike's nice. Disintegration, nice. All single target shit. But still, even though you're doing it at range, remember your dexterity for your ranged touch attacks, so you're still swinging at a pretty good swing with those, so that's nice. Then you have Acid Fog. If as long as you find some kind of way to make yourself immune to that low level of acid, you can, again, much like Cloud Kill, stand in the cloud, watch them just peel off their health, and you're just stabbing, stabbing, stabbing. Good ideas. And of course, Chain Lightning for that, F you to everybody in the room before we start this fight, because why not? It's fun. Having said this, your build compared to my build will be different in the following. Remember, you have a 18 for intelligence, and I have a 22. This is what I get that you don't. I'll have 6 slots here. This is one more spell. I have one more spell at level 2, and I'll have one more at level 5, and I'll have one more at level 5, and I'll have one more at level 6 than you. And while level 5 is not being amazing, they're good spells and do good damage, it's not a buff category. Again, this is the only real one I found to be buffing. But 1 and 2, on the other hand, I don't mind having an extra shield at my beck and call. That way when I get into a fight I can do this, this, and this, because I like being zippy, and then repeat the same damn thing again when they all wear off. Yes, they last for 20 minutes, but I don't want to have to take a knee all the damn time. So that's one of the reasons I kind of like having extra spell slots. And yes, before you ask, you can always buff your intelligence with gear and get those spell slots back. But then again, so could I, and I could still get more spells than you. That's my end point here. That's why I like the high intelligence. That plus the skills. And then of course another one I can get at level 2. And again, who wouldn't want to have 2 sets of mirror image, 2 sets of blur? I have that for you right now. But then I have another one here. You notice I haven't taken Frigid Touch. I probably could do that. Or I could get rid of Glitter Dust and get 1 Frigid Touch and 1 Scorching Ray, or 1 Acid Arrow, 1 Frigid Touch, whatever. You get the idea. You get to pick and choose as you like. But that's an extra spell for that extra surge damage or extra buff potential, extra utility. That's why I like the higher intelligence. A lot of people bitch about it, but I still swear by it, man. And your dex, my dex is still nothing to sneeze at. It's an 18, and I will buff that. It will be literally 26 to 28, somewhere in that range, before I'm done with the game on that particular build. Because I'll drink that potion that's +2, and I'll have the Belt of Awesomeness, which is like +8 to strength, +8 to dex, and +8 to con. So my dex is going to go up another 10 points from 18 to 28. After everything's said and done, that's still pretty goddamn good, I think. And I'll do the same with my intelligence, and so will you. There's the Headband of Awesomeness. It's like +8 to intelligence, 8 to wisdom, and 8 to charisma. you of course want that, or something that at least that gives you a +8 to intelligence. Definitely something that you're going to want. It'll give you more spells, it'll give you more armor, it'll do the same for me. And again, who wouldn't want that? So it's a really different way to play. And again, all level 5 where there's not anything really special that I'm like, oh, I must have that extra spell slot for this reason. I do have an extra attack that you wouldn't. And at level 6, another transformation, man, that's another transformation, or true seeing, or whatever I choose. That's why I do like having those extra slots. Now let's take a look quickly at your feats, or sorry, your skills. You're not capable of maxing out a lot because your intelligence is not extremely high. Mine is, and I got a lot more obviously than you did. But for you, what I went with was Knowledge Arcana. You managed to max that out at 27. 20 ranks in it, plus your intelligence bonus, plus your class skill, so plus 27. That's a nice, respectable number. Especially even if you're soloing. You want to have at least one knowledge or one lore at max at all times, in my opinion. It's up to you which to pick, but since you're a fighter that wizards, I thought Arcana made sense. You could have just easily went World. Either is viable because those are the ones you get class skill in. You got the little green check mark next to them. You don't have a green check mark in Persuasion though, and if you're running solo, you're the only face of the team, so you better start investing in Persuasion at every goddamn level, because if you miss a check, you're missing out on XP, or you piss off someone and now you have to fight them, maybe you're not ready for it. You want Persuasion. It gives you options, that's why I'm saying it. We went Perception. Again, you're solo. The only person that's looking for traps and finding hidden gear and shit is you. So if you ain't got a high perception, you're probably going to miss it. So at every level, you got Perception. Trickery. You're the only thief on the team, and you don't have any skill in it. You have a high dex, so that helps. But we invest 20 ranks in it on purpose so that we can pick that trap and get free XP. So we can pick that lock and get free XP. You'll be surprised at how fast you level up if you solo. And of course you can't solo until after you get to Oleg's, and that's roughly about when I would start soloing as well. I would probably maybe fight Tartuccio in that one place first. The quick fight where he like bolts immediately and leaves his minions to deal with you. I would take my team with me up to that spot, fight that fight, and as soon as we find Tartuccio again, I would shuttle some equipment back to base, sell some shit off, make sure I had all the best gear, dismiss the party members so they're just sitting there at Oleg's just chilling, and I would go either solo or duo at the best. So I have at least someone with me to help me out, carry some stuff, or maybe swing or take the beating while I cast a spell or two. But if you can make it solo to that point, you'd be surprised by the time you get to the Stag Lord, you'll be level 8 no problem. And you're out leveled those guys so much that your armor's going to be huge, your spells are going to be okay, you're going to have the best gear because you're the only one with gear, so you're selling off the shit you don't want or need, and then you're buying the best stuff that they have to sell, which isn't going to be much. You got your bags of holding to carry stuff because your strength sucks ass, but you're picking lots, you're getting free XP, you're doing all the little scum saves that you need to for mobility and athletics checks too, so that you can get a little more XP each time. In that one area where you fight Tartuccio the first time, that tree, that area alone, before you even get to Tartuccio, you can get another level or two, easy. Running solo and just picking up like skill check shit, because there's a bunch in that map. You have to be careful, you have to take your time, it's annoying. But if you do that, and then you use the tricks that I use, which are using your spells of Expeditious Retreat. I mean, honestly, as much as I love Shield and Reduced Person, Expeditious Retreat pretty much made my build from levels like 3 up for the longest time. Why? Because with this on, I can kite, even as a sword saint. I can put a crossbow on me that's a masterwork crossbow, activate this spell for 3, 4, 5 minutes because I'm a low level character, maybe get lucky and extend it so you double the duration. And in those areas of those caves where there's spiders and everything like that, I can kite like crazy and kill all those bastards. They never swing at me, I never have to worry about poison, they all die, and I get free XP basically just from turning, shooting, running away a little bit, turning, shooting, running away a little bit. It's all long corridors, and if you have to zip past them to turn around because you get to the end of the corridor, you still have enough of a dodge potential to slip past those little bastards. So just dodge past them. I mean, again, I would still probably activate at least Shield and this at the same time. They last just as long. When this wears off, then Shield wears off, and then you gotta worry about at that point. But this one literally is enough for you to cheese quite a bit. So it's really, really nice. So from there, use Magic Device. You didn't get it max, but I put quite a few points in it, so you got a decent, respectable amount. I thought to myself, well, if you're a Sword Saint, You should be familiar with magic, hence the arcana, and then the high use magic device. You can do as you please. I put several points in here, well, two, in here, and that's only because I finally maxed out arcana. You could have taken both of those points and slapped it in here to bring this a little bit higher. Maybe put more in athletics or take some away. You need to have 3 in there, but I did it anyway. Same with mobility. I have 3 in there. That's just because if you're fighting defensively, that unlocks some stuff. So I figured, what the hell? So that'll do what you need. You got a pretty good swing. Your armor doesn't look great, especially flat-footed. But remember, this is base right now. You add things like shield spell +4, reduce person +2. Why? 1 for size, and another 1 because your dexterity just went up another 2 points. And that stacks with cat's grace, by the way, because the +2 to dex is from the actual size difference, not because of the spell. It's a different kind of buff. So cat's grace works, those belts of dexterity work, along with you reduce person. So again, you just buffing armor. Put on some braces of armor class +8. That goes up from 21 down to 29. That's a huge bump. Go from there. If you don't like that, you can use robes. Make sure you know which alignment to pick. Lawful good versus chaotic good. Different kind of robes. Look into it if you want to spoil that for you. Go ahead. Find out what's available in the game and say, oh, maybe lawful good is the way to go. Maybe I want to be lawful evil. Maybe I want to be chaotic good. There's reasons for any or other. I'm not going to tell you what to pick, but lawful good is just usually my default. I went with Kukris, not only because it's light weapons, but because of that high crit range. And I also know that, personally speaking, because I've played the game for a little bit, that there's plenty of Kukris in there that are magic. And they're pretty goddamn good. And they all seem to come in pairs. So it's almost like it lends itself to being abused as a 2-weapon wielding son of a bitch. So use those for yourself and you'll be happy. They do fire damage, cold damage, variety of other different ones. But you will like them. And they just keep getting better and better and better the higher level you go. So pretty sweet. From there, we didn't put anything really into stealth. You have a high dex anyway, but you're not a sneaker. It's not going to be a thing. And you didn't have any skill points that you could invest in lore nature or lore religion, and you don't have any proficiency in them either. You could have done world or arcana. I went with arcana, but it's up to you. But that's your build. Only the real thing to point out from there is the stuff that you get for free as a sword saint. So notice that I took extended magic early on. There's a variety of choices, and I'm not going to go over all of them, but extended magic is not extended meta magic. It's similar, not the same. It's limited uses per day, where you can just take any spell that you can cast. You would click this first. You got 3 uses a day. Click it first, and then click your spell. If it can be extended, it gets extended. Period. It's free, easy. You don't have to slot them special or anything like that. You just use them and forget them. It's almost like the meta magic rods, right? 3 uses per day. They recharge when you rest. This thing is really nice because I can extend things like displacement, which is only 1 round per caster level. Haste, which is only 1 round per caster level. I could buff myself with shield, which is 1 minute per caster level. Instead of lasting 1, 2, 5, 10, 20 minutes, it can last double that. So again, good reasons for having this particular one. And it's the only thing that really made sense to me at the level that it was available, which was the very first pick. I could have gone arcane accuracy, and in my build I could see doing that because that's arcane accuracy gives you for 1 round, 1 whole round of attacks, you get your intelligence modifier added to your attack bonus for every attack in 1 combat round. So that's kind of nice for me because I have a 22 for intelligence, so it means I got a +6 to my swing for 6 or 5 swings, right? Whereas you only get a +4. Yes, that's still nice, and yes, you'll buff that, but it's still going to be low. It's like a weak version of True Strike, in my opinion. So just pick True Strike. That works okay too. Prescient Attack we get later, even though it gave it to us early on this list. It's actually one of the last ones I pick. But Prescient Attack is worth getting because it makes them flat-footed. And we have a feat that allows us to do intelligence damage, our intelligence bonus modifier, to our attacks if they're flat-footed. So click that and attack in 1 combat round, and you'll get an extra +4 to every swing for damage output. I'll get a +6. And of course, if we modify our intelligence with gear, it'll be even higher than that. Really, really nice surge of damage. And of course, it's easier to hit because you're ignoring their dexterity modifiers. They're flat-footed. That's what this does. Let's see, what else? Perfect Strike. These are the ones that there's some of these that I just never use. You get them for free. I never click them. So shut these things off. Perfect Strike is a fine example. You use an arcane pool point to maximize your weapon damage. I don't give a shit what your weapon damage is. If it's 1d6, 2d6, 1d10, who cares if I swing and I hit with a 1 instead of a 10? 9 points of damage was probably not going to make that fight amazing. But there's some of these that give other properties as well. So not only do they do that, but there's like an innate ability that shows up. And I'll give you a fine example for that. Here's a perfect critical. Sword Saint confirms critical hit. He can spend 1 point to increase his multiplier. So instead of critting at ×3, we crit ×4 with our weapon. It's kind of nice. Now remember, that has nothing to do with your shocking grasp or any of that shit. But you could totally do that. And my point is you could do more damage. And a surge for damage or a crit is particularly nice because it's not just the weapon damage that gets critted, it's the weapon damage and all this bonus besides. So you can crit and get a lot more bang for your buck than something like this, in my opinion. Remember, you get a magic weapon. You have the ability to enchant it at the very first level. So you can take your lame-ass Kukri and make it a +1 for 1 minute every time you activate that ability. That's an arcane pull point. You can later on make it a +2 weapon, +3, all the way up to a +5. Only in your main hand. It doesn't work for both of them, and you can't buff this one, switch hands, and then buff the other one. You can do that, but then the other enchantment wears off. So pick your best weapon, in my opinion, honestly, and put it in your offhand. And then have your second best weapon, which is almost as good, and have that in your main, because that's the one you're going to buff with all this weird shit. As you level up, you get these naturally. The ability to turn it flaming, or make it frost damage, or make it do shock damage, or one of the other, both, all three. It's up to you. You just need to spend and invest more points to do it. But sometimes I will do that, where I'll take a weapon, I'm like, I just want to do damage to this prick, and I know I can just hit him. So I'll make it a flaming frost shock weapon of keenness, and with no real enchantment of +1, +5, or any of that on there, because I burnt them all buffing the weapon in this way. But I'm just slaughtering the son of a bitch with just numbers flying off them, because every hit does frost damage, flaming damage, shock damage. From there, the keen one is a point to mention, simply because you can buff the main weapon again, just like you would buff it for fire damage. You can buff it this way, which turns the crit range from 18 to 20 into double, 15 to 20, which means I don't need a keen weapon. If you have a keen one, put it in your offhand. And then the other point is that you don't need improved critical, the feat. If you don't like that, and again, I forget to do this all the time, feel free to burn up something like this goddamn armor proficiency and get improved critical. Not critical focus, that's completely different. Improved critical is the one that turns a weapon of your choice, in this case your Kukri weapon, and doubles the range. Basically makes every Kukri weapon you wield a keen version of it, automatically. So that's the feat. If you don't like the feat, which they're lean pickings, so that's why I'm like, well, I'll do this, or I'll find a keen version of the weapon and just be happy with that. I pick Enduring Blades. That's like at level 6. That's as soon as you can get it. I swear by this one. I don't understand why people don't pick this one. Like, oh, well, I have, like 5, 10, 20, arcane points. I got more than enough to buff my weapon at each fight. Yeah, okay. But you could buff it up by the time I get to level 20. I can buff it up in a way where I buff it once and it lasts for 20 goddamn minutes. And yes, it cost me another point to do so, but it's not that much of an investment to make something that would normally last 1 minute last 20. I totally swear by this. And even if you just want to make it a +5 weapon for 20 minutes, that's still a viable thing. Turn this on, then activate your arcane weapon upgrade. Poof, you got a +5 weapon for 20 minutes. That's pretty sweet. Then you get speed for free. This is like your equivalent of haste, but not really. It's like the watered down version, if you will. And they don't stack. But this will give you another attack around. So again, if you want to go from 6 to 7, activate the speed one. That's a viable option. You make a speed weapon so you get an extra attack, and it's that full attack bonus. So at 18 and 18, you'll get another attack. It doesn't stack with haste and similar effects. And you do have haste, so I'd use haste first, but haste runs out quickly, and you only have a couple spell slots. You have the ability to do this. You don't even have to pick it, you just get it. Things you did pick, I picked the ghost one because it gives you these two together at the same time. You get ghost touch and brilliant energy at the same time. You don't have to pick these, but I swear by these two for good reasons. One, if they're incorporeal, then you literally are doing half damage every time you hit them with a weapon. This turns your weapon, your main weapon of course, into a weapon that's a ghost touch weapon, and therefore it ignores that 50% of the damage. So it literally does full damage to those sons of bitches. You will tear through them with this activated on your weapon. It's rare that you come across them, but when you do, you will love that you have it. Some weapons have this built into it, so you don't need to have it. If you have it built into a Kukri, which I don't know that there is, but if it is, put it in your offhand, put the other one be something completely different. Because remember, your main hand is the one you're going to buff. So then you could technically have 2 ghost touch weapons by buffing this one and having the original one that be a ghost touch weapon over here. That'd be pretty sweet. Brilliant Energy, this is the one that ignores their armor. Remember we said Prescient is nice because it makes them flat-footed and you ignore their dodge. It says, well, it doesn't really do you a whole lot of good if they have a high armor class, because they have good armor on. Well, that's why we have this one. It's a big investment. You lose +4 bonus to your weapon that you could have added to it, right? Remember, you get +1 all the way up to +5. So at +4 and up, if you pick this thing, +4 drops down to 0. You don't get any buff, but you get the Brilliant Energy buff. +5 becomes a +1 weapon, but you still get the Brilliant Energy buff. And is it worth it? Hell yeah, if you're fighting armored opponents, with the exception of undead, constructs, or objects, which it says right at the bottom there. If it's a normal person or whatever that's wearing armor, this will penetrate their armor. It's like their armor doesn't even exist. You will Ginsu right through their ass with this shit on. So with all those knights and white satin bullshit coming your way, you just tear those some bitches apart because you got Brilliant Energy activated on. Last one I pick is an amazing one. And again, if you don't pick this, I just have to wonder what you're doing. Bane is an amazing buff. This is usually my go-to buff, by the way. Why? Because it takes a point away. So at my +5 at the end, at level 20, I have a +5 bonus to my weapon if I buff it, right? It makes it a +4 because it takes that point. That's what it says in the tooltip. That one additional point gets stolen away. Poof. Now, the good news is Bane also gives you back 2 attack bonus, enhancement bonus back to your weapon because it's a Bane weapon. So a +4 now becomes technically a +6. And then every time you hit those targets, any target, it does 2d6 of force damage. Why? Because it's considered a Bane opponent. That's a Bane weapon. That's what a Bane weapon does. So that's a really nice damage surge. So when I'll show you here in a minute, do some combat, you'll see my main attacks are doing a shit ton of damage compared to my other one. It's because of the Bane buff. Amazing. And again, Bane buff along with Enduring Blade. 20 minutes of you doing 2d6 of extra damage on that main attack from this guy here. It's a +2 to swing because of the Bane component, a +4 to swing because you enchanted the weapon. So this weapon has like a +6 added to its swing potential, +6 more damage added because of that, and then another 2d6 of damage added because of the Bane force. So this does a crap ton more damage. Piranha Strike, we talked about that. That's over here in your feats. Arcane Pool, that's the one that you get at level 1 and steadily levels up as you go. I did not invest in extra Arcane Pool points, which is a viable option too, since you use them so heavily. You're buffing your weapon, I can see that, but I didn't, and you can make that decision on your own. From there, you know about your candy defense. Remember, you don't want to be flat-footed. That's hence the blind sight. That's why that was important. Know that you have combat and spell strike. You still can channel your shocking attacks dual wielding through your weapon, the first main weapon, but you don't get multiple attacks in that round. You literally cast the spell, channel it through the weapon, attack with the weapon, and then you're done. So don't think that you're going to be swinging. That would be if you won just one weapon and you use that ability. So, leave them on, shut them off. It doesn't much matter. It doesn't impact you in any real way. From there, Perfect Strike. No. Trying to find that other thing. Here we go. Fighter Training. This is the one that's slightly different for you than it is for other Magi. Other Magi get it at level 10, and it treats their Magi levels as half for fighter levels. So at level 10, they're a 5th level fighter. You, on the other hand, get it at 7, and instead of cutting it in half, they only subtract 3 from it. So at level 7, you're considered a 4th level fighter. Well, right away, that opens up the potential to pick a feat that most other classes can't get except for fighters. And the other Magi can only get once they get to level 10. And they can't pick it at level 10 because there's no feat available at level 10, so they have to wait till level 11 just to pick it. You have it at level 7. Poof. This is what helps put you ahead of the lead when it comes to being a fighter that wizards, is this shit here. And by the end of it, at level 19, which is the last feat pick you'll be considered a level 16 fighter. That still opens up a lot of potential because there's a feat out there that's at least a couple that are locked behind. You have to be like a 15th level fighter. You would actually be considered a 15th or higher level fighter at that level 19 feat pick. So if you plan for it, you can pick that thing. It's kind of badass. Then, and no other Magi can do that because they would top out at level 19. They'd be considered level 9 no, yeah, level 9 fighter. So they get limited quite a bit. There's usually feats level 4 fighter, level 8 I want to say. I know there's one at 12, 15, probably one at 18 even. You can't do the 18 one, but you can do all the way up to 15. So you have a lot more potential for feat picks than they do because of this. Lightning draw, this is why I don't mind my intelligence being higher than my dex. Remember, you don't want to be flat-footed. A good way to make sure that you're not flat-footed is that you're the first one to fight in the combat round. So high initiative roll, yes? Well, you have high dex. That goes into your initiative roll, so you're better than me. But once I get lightning draw, my intelligence modifier is added. Yours is too, but remember, you have a +6 and a +4, so you get a +10. I have a +4 and a +6, so again, I get a +10. So once I get to this level, which is level 7 or 9, I think it says 7, but I think it's actually 9. Might be thinking of something else. Point is, once you get this, or once we both get this, we're comparable then for initiative roll. And because of this, I don't pick up things like improved initiative, which would be another way for you to increase your chance to swing first. Why? Because if you get high enough level, you literally get a natural 20 on your roll anyway. So you don't even roll a 1d20. You just get a 20 and then whatever bonus you have. So you're swinging right now at every initiative roll as a +30, just like my character, which is pretty awesome. Improved spell combat and greater spell combat will come in later. Those are just so you can cast spells in combat without really having to worry about your concentration check, so I don't really worry about it too much. And again, you are a buffer. You buff up in advance. Arcane weapon, again, it steadily increases from +1 all the way up to +5. Critical perfection. Now, here's some weird stuff. This is the one, just like the fighter training that we saw just a moment ago. This is the other one that I was telling you about. That's pretty badass. Notice the Sword Saint Anne says intelligence bonus on critical hit confirmation rolls. So basically, when you crit, you don't guarantee that you crit. First, you roll the dice, you crit. Then you roll the dice again, and you confirm the crit. So this adds your intelligence modifier to that roll, increasing your chances of critting. So again, I have a slight advantage over you for this, but I think you also get to add your intelligence or your dex modifier as well. So again, we probably wash out being basically the same. I don't know that for a fact. But the point is, more intelligence is better for you in this regard. But it's the second paragraph that you really need to focus on here. In addition, the Sword Saint may use his magic levels in place of his base attack bonus to qualify for any feat for which is prerequisite. This is the one that literally is, when you get it at level 9, your bad would be, let's see, at level 1 you get nothing, 2, 3, and 4 you have 1, 2, and 3. 3 at 5, 6, 7, 8. So then you would have a 6 at 8. So by the time you get this, you only have a BAB of 6, okay? But you'll be treated as having a BAB of 9. And then at the next level 10, and then the next level 11, just like you were a fighter. That's awesome, because the fighters, again, have all kinds of feats that are badass, that are hidden behind the wall of, are you a fighter or do you have a high BAB? Well, you don't have a high BAB and you're not a fighter, but you have critical perfection and you have fighter training. Those two things go a long way to sealing up those gaps and giving you stuff that only real fighters have access to. That means you get to be a fighter too. Superior reflexes, this one's kind of nice. Number of attacks of opportunity equal to your intelligence modifier rounded down. It also stacks with combat reflexes, which you notice I did not pick in your feats. You could do that and have even more, but I never really seem to get a whole lot of attack of opportunity, especially if I'm running solo. It's there, sure, but literally I'm getting a +6 to my attack of opportunity. You're getting a +4. That's still, even your +4 is pretty goddamn good. That's 4 attack of opportunities, which you probably are never really going to see that many in a combat round on average. So it's nice that to be there, and it's free, you just get it. Then from there, lethal focus, this is where I kind of start catching up with you with damage. If you were doing the slashing grace, which you have way the hell up here, and you're running 1 Kukri, and I were doing the same thing, you'd be beating me for damage because you have a higher dex than me. That's your damage potential is coming from that now. Because of lethal focus, I can start to catch up to you. When the opponent's flat-footed, and only flat-footed, I get to add my intelligence modifiers. You do too, so you get a +4, and then of course your +6 from slashing grace. So a flat-footed opponent, if you're using 1 Kukri, you can do a +10 of damage just because of these two stats. But so could I. I could get slashing grace. I'm only getting a +4 from it, but I have a +6 to my intelligence, and again, then I'm getting a +6 to my damage because of lethal focus. So again, I would be doing 4 to your 6, and then you'd be doing another 4 to my 6. So again, in the end, it washes out, but only on flat-footed. That's why you're better, and most times, I obviously want to make sure that I catch them flat-footed as often as possible to maximize my damage potential. From there, Counter Strike, kind of weird. This is the one where literally they get to cast a spell. If they're casting a spell, as soon as their spell's over, and if they're within range of my striking attack or your striking attack, they provoke an attack of opportunity and you swing at the bastard. They're still casting their spell, they're getting that spell off, but you're going to swing at them immediately. How is this beneficial to you or me? Remember, we're way the hell over here fighting all the fighters and the wizards or whatever clerics are way the fuck back there. Remember that teleport spell you have? Yeah, that's right. Dimension door, right to that son of a bitch's toe. He's casting his spell. He's going to get the spell off. Is it a buff? Maybe. Is it a magic missile? Again, maybe. But you're in his grill, and as soon as his spell's done, attack of opportunity. It's kind of sweet. From there, again, when you get high level shit, you get really crazy stuff. Perfect reflexes. This is where you roll a natural 20 always, period. You know, this is pie in the sky dreaming that you're going to get this high, but when you finally get to 19, you're going to love that. That's a 20, and then plus your dex and your intelligence modifiers combined. That's why you're rolling a 30 every time when you do initiative checks. We're almost always on top. And that's with us being naked in the breeze. We start buffing up, and you can put that even higher to probably a good 40 on every roll. 20 natural and a 20 from your buffs from your dex and your intelligence modifier. Yeah, that's pretty sick. Then the 20, the creme de la creme, you literally change your weapon from a ×2 in our case to a ×3. That's why we're ×3 crits. If you had, for whatever reason, picked a different weapon that had ×3, it would now be a ×4. If you had one that was ×4, which they're rare, but they're out there, it would be ×5 because of this. Yes, it's level 20, so again, you're probably not going to see it, but when you do get it, it's going to be fucking sweet. Also, notice this part, and this is why I hedged on that part where, remember, you want to increase your crit chance and your critical focus. Once you get to 20, which again I know is pie in the sky dreaming, you automatically confirm all critical threats. So critical focus isn't even necessary. You crit, period. If you roll to crit, you're critting. Unless, of course, you're immune to crits. That's a different category altogether. But the point is, the crits just do not stop when you have this one up, man. You get this thing on keen weapons, or buff them, like I said, or get the improved critical, and you're level 20 with Kukris in your hands, and it'll be crit, 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 crit all day long. You'll have so much fun. But that covers everything I wanted to say about the build, brother. Let's actually show you a little bit of gameplay. First, let's put some gear on. And again, this is just the Tenebrous depths. This is nothing really fancy. I have some gear, nothing really amazing. You know, the +6 armor from that's really nice, but again, touch armor class is going to be your bread and butter. This is the one you really want to make sure it stays high. We have, where's my cloak of awesomeness? Cloak of heroism. I have this tiara, vast intelligence, only the +2 one. Like obviously, you'll get the +8 version as soon as you can. I have master hand, so my use magic device goes up. I have thorny ring, which allows me to cast this trippy ass sickening entanglement spell like a druid 3 times a day. It's kind of funny. Don't have to have that one, but that's the one that's coming up so far. And then of course a ring of luck, so I get a bonus to my saving throws, a luck bonus no less. Amulet of time trickery. I get a free haste spell of level 5 only, but still once a day. Just don't even have to slot it. I just have it because I have this damn necklace on. I have an incredible belt of dexterity. It bumps me just a tiny bit more. And of course, when you shrink down as a reduced person, this goes up another 2 because of size bonus. So this will go to an 8, and your armor class will go up again. We have, okay, so here we got some meta magic rods. We have I like the extend meta magic rod, the lesser one, of course, because it works for levels 1, 2, and 3 spells. And then I have the lesser empower and the maximize. So literally, if I need to, instead of having meta magic feats, I can just use these short term. That's 3 per day, so that's 9 different spells I can buff in these ways, where they extended for duration, they do extra whatever, 50% more of it, or full damage. And while I mentioned the full damage one, remember your spells at level 3 include Vampiric Touch. Remember I said that it really sucks because until you get to like close to level 20, the maximum potential is that 10d6. But it's only 1d6 for every 2 caster levels, so it takes forever to come online as being something really good. But when it does, and you maximize that bastard, that's 60 guaranteed damage. Double that if it crits, and you get all that in health for 1 hour. So you get a number plus the 143 or whatever your current health is when you use that move. That's
I do what I
nice.
must.
Let's get ready to go to the next depths. I don't know which level this is. 13 apparently. Or 14. I just came from 13, I think. I've never actually done farther than this, so this is all new to me too, so. But here we are, and just to give you some gameplay, here's the maximize on. Shut that shit off, make sure those are off. Notice again, here's all your weirdness. Spell combat, spell strike, you can shut those off. If you're never going to use them, don't bother. But if you want to be able to cast a spell and then attack, you still have that potential. Piranha Strike is on, leave it here so that you remember to shut it off if you don't want to. These ones, again, I never seem to use these guys. Definitely don't use this one. But this one here, I suppose if you just want to leave it on so that when you crit, the crits are better. Remember, it's already at ×3, it'll be ×4, which would be nice, but it's not. It's taking away from this, and I'd rather have more of these here for buffing this shit, or even use a prescient attack when I need to, than wasting it on a random crit. You know what I'm saying? So again, I could see deleting these from your tray for the time being. Make sure they stay off, because otherwise they're toggles. They're on until they activate, and it's just dumb. And when you get them, they automatically turn them on like dumbasses. So you'll burn through all this and wonder why. Look in here, and you'll be like, oh, son of a bitch. Shut them off, shut them off. Here, this is the heroism from my cloak. I'm going to activate that. Nice +2 to a bunch of shit for me right there, and it's going to last me for 20 minutes. That's pretty sweet. I have haste from that necklace, but I'm not going to use that yet because this one lasts for 5 rounds. I have the ability to buff my weapon. Don't click this. As soon as you click this, you buff the weapon. So turn on whatever you want for the buff. And I just put a few down here just to give you an idea of what I normally use, or I normally keep in my tray. You notice I have the flaming one here. Never hurts to be able to do fire damage, but it's not the reason I have it here. It's here to remind me that I have the other elemental types as well. So I have fire, I have cold, I have electric. So that's why I leave it there. My best one, Bane, is right there. And it reminds me, of course, that I always have the Ghost Touch and the Brilliant Energy. So they're just there. But Bane's usually my go-to, so that's why it's here. And of course, Enduring Blade, so that I can turn that on in a heartbeat. So usually I just do this and this. See how this number drops down? This is how many times I could do this combo, 5 times per day. Activate it. Poof, it's on. You can do that in combat, man. It's instantaneous. You can leave these on. It doesn't do a damn thing to leave them on. You can shut them off if you want to. But don't click this again. If you click it again, you, I think, delete the original buff. And then you put on whatever new buff on. So because I had Enduring Blade on, this is a 20-minute buff. If you look at your inventory and look at your weapon, your main weapon, you will see the buff. The temporary +4, remember it should be +5, it went down to +4 because I used Bane. But my temporary Bane jumped it another +2 up. And then it also deals an extra 2d6 of damage to any foe that you have, because it assumes the foe is a Bane foe, which is freaking awesome. So this weapon just skyrocketed in its freaking damage potential compared to what it used to be. And it's not really catching up to it here, and I don't know what that's about. Maybe that'll show up. You know, it definitely will show up in the fight, but it's not really noticing it over here. It's getting the buffs, it's not getting anything else. See? Oh, but that's nice. And then from there, because you want to be buffed up before you go into battle, you could leave lesser extended minute match around and double the duration of these. These ones last 20 minutes at this level now, so I don't have to. I can save this, but I don't usually. I really do like the double buffs. So I'll buff this, shield spell, expeditious retreat, and reduced person. All level 1 spells. That uses up all 3 charges. Takes a second for that one to fire off. But now those are all done, right? So I can't use that Meta Magic Rod again today. But that's only the lesser one, and I can get the other version that does 1 through 6 spells and save that for other higher level spells. But that's those buffs. Now look at what I just did. +4 armor class for 40 minutes. I move 30 feet per round faster for 40 minutes. I have that height advantage and my heightened dexterity, better armor class, better to hit chance, harder for them to hit me, all that shit's for 40 minutes. And that's just from 3 cheap low-level spells buffed up before battle for a long time. Then I have a spell that I know will wear off quickly, so I don't particularly care that it's only for 20 minutes. Mirror image. Remember, as soon as they beat up all those images, the spell's done. You may have it all the 20 minutes, you may not. But at the very least, I can see why I say I don't particularly care that that gets the extended version. Here's one that I could worry about, Blur. It's still only 20 minutes. I have this extended magic right here. If I click this one, I don't normally do it. If I click that, and then I click Blur and activate it on myself, I just extended that one. Just like I used that rod here. It's the exact same effect. It works for any of my spells. So you see if I hover over here, my mirror image, which is 1 minute per caster levels for 20 minutes. My blur, which is 1 minute per caster level, has been extended into 40. This is the one that allows them to miss me 20% of the time. This is like partial concealment, okay? It's a really nice spell, good long-lasting buff. You know, they miss 1 in 5 times, basically is what it's telling you. Then, displacement's the big brother of it, the one that misses 50% of the time. But notice it's only 1 round per level. This is where I would actually use my extended magic on, because they are so short-lived. Same with haste, they're so short-lived. So 1 round per level, 20 rounds, that's literally only, what, 2 minutes or something like that? If I extend it, that's 4 minutes. 4 minutes, I can almost clear a goddamn dungeon if I'm just rushing through, going from spot to spot, slaughtering guys. So you'd be surprised at how long these buffs last.
I'm there.
Again, same with greater invisibility, 1 round per level. It's the extended version that you'd probably use. Now, I'm not using it right now because I just want to show you what it's capable of doing without
In due time.
the high advantage of being invisible during
A
combat.
test of my abilities.
Here's a satyr. I've never fought these guys before. And a primal giant spider. Let's see how I do.
Strike.
So now that first strike, that's 32, that big heavy hitting damage, you saw the blue sparks. That's because of the Bane. Hit them both. There we go. You see the half damage is coming from the other Kukri, because it doesn't have the buff. It's just a magic +1 Kukri. Nixie.
This wound,
Boom.
my
Pretty.
gift to you.
Critted for 62, man. Look at that shit times 3. That's freaking nice. And that 17 is just added in there with all the other buffs you got on you. So, like I said, it's a really decent build. It's not amazing. It could be better. But if you ran it solo, you know, once you felt strong enough with some good gear to pick it up and go solo, it shouldn't be very difficult to slaughter most things in the game. Will you come across stuff that you just can't beat? I have no doubt. You know, if you don't have the right gear at that time, or the right combo of spells to use, or prepared, because
This
you're
will
just
be
pushing your butt just
quick.
a little bit more, your health may be too low to actually pull that shit off. I'm going to
Don't
take
hold
out this
back.
ferocious leopard. I'm going to do another trick after this. Remember that vampiric touch? Let's go get that satyr over here with that. And if I activate the maximize magic rod, watch this shit. Boom. Full damage. Shut that shit right back off. Full damage. 60 damage. Unholy damage. And again, hover over here. See how much health you got there. 70. Because you do the whatever damage your character did, it gets added to you. So if that 70 was what we hit him with. 70 unholy and 10 from force. Oh, that's even giving us the force damage. Oh, that's badass. So that's literally cheating. But I don't care. But 60 is what I was expecting, not 70. But that's still fucking nice. So it could have been up to 72. If it critted, by the way, that 60 actually gets doubled, right? So 60 becomes 120. So this could have been much better than this even. So it's not cheating by that much. But the point is still the same. And that's a buff that if you look at it, you hover over here, it's right there, Vampiric Touch for 1 hour. Never longer, unless of course you extend it, of course. But that's 1 hour of buff, man. That's a whole huge, that's damn near double your hit points. Right, 50% of your hit points added to it. You got 150% of your hit points right now. Just slaughtering stuff. And I'd rather take that on the chin for that 70 before, you know, messing with my good stuff. So, like I said, I think you'll like the build.
I do what I
Hopefully this is what
must.
you're looking for. And again, feel free to tweak it to your liking. Like I said, all those critical moves, the critical focus, which is a waste, but it's a doorway that gets you into things like tiring critical, exhaustive critical, critical mastery, which is weird. You can get staggering critical, blinding critical, sounds super fun. I could see getting maybe critical focus and blinding critical, or critical focus and fatiguing critical. Why do I say fatigue over exhaustive? Because exhaustive is better, but to get exhaustive you need fatigue, and they don't stack. So you get critical focus, which is a feat that's going to be wasted on you when you get high enough level, because you automatically confirm all crits. Then you get fatiguing critical, or tiring critical I should say. Tiring critical, which will make them fatigued. Then you could get exhaustive critical, which overrides basically the fatigue one. So that's the one that does -6 to their strength, -6 to their dex when it exhausts them, which sounds awesome. But again, you had to get 3 feats to get that effect. Whereas if you just stopped at the first 2, you're at least doing a -2 to their strength and a -2 to their dex. That's what the tiring critical does. And they have to be susceptible to it, so that's still a thing. But I'd rather only burn 2 feats on that
Their
shit.
life ends here.
Quick bear. I'd rather use only 2 feats on that shit because
This will hurt.
it's not something I'm going to rely on too much. It's nice to have when it's there. I'd be more inclined to probably push forth the critical mastery, which is you have critical focus, 2 of the other critical effects, like blinding critical and tiring critical. You only use 1 at a time. You have to activate which one you're going to affect when you crit. You have critical mastery, you can do more than 1, which means you need 2, I think. So I could blind you and fatigue you at the same damn time, or blind you and stagger you, or let's see, there's staggering, there's blinding, there's fatigue, there's exhausting. I know I'm missing one. Staggering, it's another S1, I think. Staggering and I lost it. But the point is, if you find them, they're in there. And again, they're the ones hidden behind the wall of either a high BAB score or a high fighter score, which means no other magus can get them but sword saints and obviously fighters. So it's really nice for you to think about. If you wanted to go that route, again, I can totally see that. Decide what to delete from my build to get there, and you can get there, and you'll still be happy with your character. But I still think greater 2-weapon fighting is to your benefit. 6 swings is better than 3. I even did the math, by the way. I'm not going to waste your time with it showing you the Excel spreadsheet. I did the math on it, by the way, to see how wielding 1 Kukri without any penalty compares to wielding 2 Kukris with the -4 or the -2 penalty. At the -4 penalty, if you use, say, like 2 rapiers or 2 scimitars, it really sucks to be 2-weapon wielding. It really does. It takes you really a long time to build up to where 2 weapons is to your benefit still for damage output, damage potential. So it's almost to your benefit to wield 1 weapon. For the Kukris, though, because they're light and it's only a -2 penalty to each swing, that comes online a lot better. At first, when you're using normal weapons, like I'm using right now, no magic, anything, not even masterwork, you're still better off using just 1 Kukri. When you start getting a +1, +2, whether it's masterwork or enchanted weapons, then you wielding 2 of them will put out tiny bits more damage at first, and then by the time you get to level 20, infinitely a higher amount of damage potential because of so many swings and so many crits. So it really does work, but it takes a while to come on. So I'd say at least until level 5, I would wield just 1 Kukri, your best Kukri in 1 hand, buff it up, of course, like we've been doing with whatever, fire potential or whatever you got. Buff it up, go to town, have fun. When you finally get to the point where you're level 6 or so, and you unlocked, of course, by that point, 2-weapon fighting, then get another good Kukri, put it in your other hand, and then you'll probably appreciate it, because it'll be another attack around. Yes, both will get penalized, but after that you get the improved 2-weapon fighting, and then you get even another attack around. I mean, right now you can, I'm wielding this character with 6 attacks around, 3 and 3. I could buff that up by doing haste, getting 4 and 3. I could buff that up by using speed weapon, which is up here, this guy here, instead of haste, and getting 4 and 3. I could use the hasted assault, which I didn't pick. It's kind of like prescient attack, where you click it once and you have haste, the effect of haste, sort of, on your character thanks to your arcane points for 1 round per Sword Saint level. Which again is basically the equivalent of haste. It's just not amazing. Or actually, I think it might be based on your intelligence level. But it's not the point. The point is, it's a watered down version of haste, and it's another attack around. So again, he goes from 3 and 3 to 4 and 3 by the highest level, which again doesn't sound like much. But think about it early in the game when you're doing, 2 and 1, and now it's 3 and 1. That's 4 attacks around. That's a lot better than 3. If you're doing 2 and 2, because you finally decided to get improved 2-weapon fighting. Now you went from 2 to 2 to 3 and 2. If you want to go even weirder than that, if you did hasten, or any of these other buffs we just mentioned, and then activated that transformation spell, this is the one that buffs your base attack bonus up to whatever class or character level you are. So I'm character level 20, so my base attack bonus jumps to 20. That by default gives me another attack around. Increase all my attack potential. I'll activate this for you and show you. I'll do hasten and I'll do transformation on the next fight just to show you.
You should have run.
I'll show you.
I am your end.
Flip, buddy. 4 damage. See that reduced? Remember our ability to penetrate their damage resistance? Remember, I have 10 points. I did 15 points of damage. It was reduced to 10, so he has DR 5. He actually has DR 15 because remember I ignored 10 of it. So that's why that would really suck. If I didn't have that 10, I would be doing probably, it would just by default either do 0 or do like 1 point of damage. I think they let you always do 1. So the point is that attack wouldn't do piss though. If it weren't for that penetrating strikes and greater penetrating strikes, that's why I got both. You can get 1 and feel good about it, but I got 2 because why not? You can do it. Other magi I can't. So that's the rationale behind that particular pick. Let's go over here, grab this stuff. Let's find another big fight. Amulet of Time Trickery, another same amulet I just had. It's the one that allows you to do what the hell's going on? Why is it not letting me? Are we still in combat?
I'm there. Interesting.
It won't let me activate the trap. Or interact with it. It's going to make me attack it. Jerk. That's so weird. That's clearly a glitch. Let's find somewhere we can fight. I'm going to buff up with those 2 spells and show you how our numbers change. Alright. Chances are there's bad guys in there, right? So, over here, face that way. You're going to buff up. First, let's look at our numbers. You're rocking a 26, 21, 16, 23, 18, 13 right now. Okay? We're going to activate haste, and I'm going to do it with the extended magic, so it doubles the duration, so it at least lasts for a little bit of time. And then we're going to activate transformation and do the same thing. So we have 2 of these, so we have 2 spells of buff. So the way to do it is you extend magic. It's a short-term buff on you until the next spell that I think you cast, which again obviously is going to be haste. Cast haste on yourself. Boom. That's why. Oops, that's reduced person. Where's haste? There it is. Different icon. 4 minutes instead of 2 minutes. Still, 2 minutes is good. It's just 4 minutes is better. Then we're going to do the extended magic again, and then we're going to do transformation spell. Basically, the intensive strength. So, look at our sheet now. 31, 31, 26, 21, 16, 28, 23, 18. That's 5 on this side, 3 on that side, dude. That's 8 attacks in a combat round at really decent numbers, and that's not really counting hugely magic weapons. Yes, this one's pretty good, but this one's suck and at a +1. So if you get a +4, +3, +5 Kukri over on this hand, these numbers get really competitive with the numbers that you've seen on this hand. And we buffed our strength, we buffed our dex, we buffed our con. That's the +4 from the transformation enhancements that you're seeing there, and here. Notice the dex increase because of size from reduced person. It's not an enhancement, it's a size bonus. So that's why they stack. And of course we got our headband now, that's why this one's in the green. But that's all you got from that. And our armor went up because of the natural armor +4 from transformation. So that's pretty badass. That's why your touch also, no, it's not touch, flat-footed is so high, is because of that as well. But that's 41 right now, and that's not really with the best gear ever or us really min-maxing. That's just with us just slapping some shit down and hoping for the best. So let's go in and kill some stuff.
A test of my abilities.
Boom, boom, boom. Then the next combat round starts. Boom, boom. Next combat round starts. Die. It's just mean, man. Like I said, you will like this.
A trivial task.
Hope it's what you were hoping for, brother.
I do what I must.
Have fun playing. Tell me how you change stuff up. Mention it in the comment section down below. Tell us all how what you liked or didn't like. But by and large, I think for your build, go this route. For my build, like I said, I would switch it up and do 22 intelligence, 18 dex. It'd be rougher at the beginning for me than you, but I don't mind the challenge. And when I finally get to the point where I can really start to capitalize on those extra spell slots, I'm definitely going to appreciate it a lot more. But with that, My name's Brothermutant. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.